Texas has fired Chris Beard. We're going to bring up a statement from University of Texas Vice President and Athletic Director Chris Del Conte. The University of Texas has parted ways with Chris Beard. This has been a difficult situation that we've been diligently working through. Today, I informed Mr. Beard of our decision to terminate him effective immediately. We thank Coach Rodney Terry for his exemplary leadership, both on and off the court at a time when our team needed it most. We are grateful he will remain the acting head coach for the remainder of the season. We are proud of our student athletes, coaches, and staff who throughout this difficult time have continued to make us proud to be Longhorns. So from my perspective, I'm speaking as Greg Waddell right now.
Yep.
I am not surprised by this result. I am a little surprised by the timing of it. Jeff, is that fair to say from an outside perspective?
Yeah, 100%. Listen, if they had done it right after or days after the incident that occurred, then I would say, okay, you know what, it makes sense. If they had waited and seen how this plays out legally, that would have made sense. To do it today when you're kind of in the middle right now just felt awkward, right? It felt like, what more information do you have today that you didn't have yesterday? None, right? None. I mean, we saw obviously the proof, the fact that Chris Beard's fiance had physical proof and evidence of Chris Beard choking her, biting her, whatnot. Now, she came back and said that he was not the aggressor, that she was. So she kind of pulled back on a lot of her statements that night. But ultimately, this is a tough one to kind of decipher because you never know what's going on behind the scenes also, right? You never know. Now, I've met her several times. I'm not going to go into their relationship, but I'm aware of some things there. Ultimately, guys, listen, it doesn't matter what happens. You cannot hit a woman. I mean, unless she's got a gun pointed at your face, I guess then you can probably hit a woman. That's probably the only way, is if a woman's got a loaded gun pointed in your face, you're probably justified. Well, she didn't. So at this point, you cannot do that. And to me, that warrants termination. It really does. And again, I think a lot of people know my relationship with Chris Beard. I've known him a long time. I have a lot of respect for him as a coach and as a person, but not for what he did here. He should have taken the high road and gotten the hell out of that house.
Yep.
And he didn't. And he put his hands on her. And ultimately, he's paying the price for it because he won't coach at his dream job, his alma mater. The job that he had already started to build into a power. And yeah, it's one of those situations that it just shows, one mistake can really turn your life and your career. And that's what's happened with Chris Beard here.
Yeah. Sad all the way around. It is, as somebody who's married and has been with my wife for 10 years, there's a lot of heated debates, and there's a lot of times where you feel like you just don't do it. You don't do it. And the best thing you can do is leave the house. And it's sad all the way around because I mean, Jeff, me, you, and Rob were down there, a month and a half, 2 months ago. Right. And you could see the program building in a certain direction, and we're never going to see it play through. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah. T.O., from a player's perspective, I doubt you've ever been through anything exactly like this.
No.
But what does this do to the players? Because like you said, they were kind of firing on all cylinders, looking like one of the best teams in the country just a month and a half ago. And now here we are.
Well, I always go back to it's almost like when a substitute teacher's in charge, when the head assistant comes and he's running practice. At least that's how it was when I was playing. Now, that being said, Rodney Terry has great relationships with all players. I think that's something that is significant in this part. So whenever he's running practice, is there a drop off? And as an older team, there shouldn't be a drop off. Now, all of that being said, I'm not going to say it's unprecedented because crazy shit happens all the time. But at the same time, this is something that is completely out of the player's control, and you're just throwing a wrench into what could have been a potential Sweet 16, Elite Eight, Final Four caliber team. And it's on some of your older guys to make it work. And the problem is they play in a basketball conference, guys, that is brutal night in and night out. And if you don't win at least 8 or 9 games in that league, you're not going dancing. And then you're doing it under these circumstances. So it's really hard for them. I feel bad for them. And there was a stretch where it was like, man, good for these kids. Like, they're playing hard, they're playing well. Hopefully, you know, for their sake, you know, they can get things back on the right track after a loss.
Yeah. So can they still do that? I think is the question, right? Because this team has all the talent in the world. Tyrese Hunter and Marcus Carr are still going to step out on that basketball court. We've seen Texas without Chris Beard just in the past couple of weeks. We've seen them win games. We've seen them struggle and lose games. So, Jeff, can this team find the ceiling that we thought was there with Chris Beard?
Yeah, they can, because this thing is so wide open this year, and they do have veteran guards. And I think, you know, the one thing I'll say is, I mean, again, it was alarming to give up 116 points at home to Kansas State. Like, that scares the hell out of me. And I just don't have confidence that they're going to be able to stick together. They went there for Chris Beard. Rodney Terry does have head coaching experience at UTEP and Fresno, but, you know, he's not Chris Beard as a coach, right? He's just not. Bob Donwald's going to do a lot of the X's and O's stuff he has with Beard over the last couple of years or so. So that'll help a little bit. But I just don't have confidence that the Marcus Carrs and the team. I worry that these guys are going to start to play for themselves a little bit now and try to get theirs, because these are a bunch of guys that are like fringe pros, right? They're probably not NBA guys, but Tio knows this. Even on Clemson, when you play it, how many guys on those Clemson teams thought they were NBA players?
We all thought we were NBA players.
Exactly.
That's
Right.
an issue.
So it's scary. It's just a little bit scary, because I think Beard had a pretty good sense of kind of how to coach these guys and what buttons to push. I don't know if again, that's Rodney Terry, but judging by the game against Kansas State at home, I could see this thing unraveling in, like Tio said, a brutal Big 12.
So Rodney Terry is the interim head coach for the rest of the season. Certainly, there is a potential outcome where Texas finds success this year and Rodney Terry is retained as the head coach.